참여죠. 예, 오늘 애틀랜타 사격협회 시상식 겸 세미나에 오신 여러분을 진심으로 환영합니다. 날씨도 춥고 그런데 오늘 아주 따뜻한 세미나를 시작을 해서 여러분들이 몰랐던 것들과 아시고 싶은 여러 가지 궁금증을 오늘 많이 풀어드릴 겁니다. 그래서 오늘 도로벨 경찰서의 루테넌트 다이어트, is that Dayet? Dayet. 예, 루테넌트 데이엇도 오셨고 오늘 미국 변호사님도 참석해 주셨고 우리 디캡 카운티 셰리프의 내년에 출마하시는 우리 카일 존스 루테넌트 카일 존스도 오늘 참석해 주셔서 이 자리를 빛내주시러 오셨습니다. 그래서 이제 시작을 할 거고요. 음식은 많이 준비됐지만 조금만 기다리시면은 이제 아직 더 오실 분들도 있고 그러니까 조만간에 시작을 하겠습니다. 그럼 먼저 도로빌 폴리스 디파트먼트에 있는 루테넌트 데이엇 오셔서 우선에 가지고 오신 준비물 먼저 소개를 하시고 여러분들이 궁금하신 여러 가지들을 답변을 하시도록 그렇게 하겠습니다. 여러분들 준비되셨어요? 네, 감사합니다. 박수 쳐주십시오. 도로빌 폴리스 디파트먼트 루테넌트 데이엇, please come on out. We represent 100,000 Korean American here in the metropolitan of Atlanta. We all have a lot of questions about guns and law enforcement and so forth and so on. So tonight we're hoping to answer all the Q&A as possible. So I'll let you handle from here. I know you got some PowerPoints ready to go over, so I'll let you do what you need to do from here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you for that. I have no idea what he said about me, but I'm going to trust it was all good. My name is Jason Dayette. I'm a lieutenant at Doraville Police Department just down the road. I've been in law enforcement for 19 years, and I've spent most of that time in tactical units and handling police dogs. My main job is that of a department training officer. So I teach firearms and I teach defensive tactics and all kinds of different stuff. So my main job is as a training officer for our agency. And we appreciate the opportunity to come out and talk to you guys tonight. I understand you guys had some kind of a shooting competition already. And I guess some people won, and I guess you guys will get your trophies in a little while. If I say anything you guys don't understand tonight, I'm not sure what the different levels of English are, but I assure you your English is better than my Korean. So if you need to stop me, please throw up a hand by all means, and we'll get it cleared up. What I wanted to do tonight was just, what they asked me to do was to start off with some basic gun safety information. I guess if you guys are, I don't know if you're all part of the shooting club or the association, but does everybody here, or is everybody a shooter? Does everybody enjoy shooting, or some yes, some no? Yeah. So we've got some different levels of experience then? Okay, all right, perfect. My batteries are dead at my little clicker, so you'll have to forgive me. I've got to push the buttons up here. I like to say that safely handling a gun is the most important part of having a gun at all. Okay? If you can't safely handle your weapon, then the fact that you've got it is probably not a good thing. We need to always safely handle a gun, right? Is that too small? Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Let's see what that's going to do. There we go. All right. So that's acting goofy on my screen. It's okay. I'm gonna skip it. The basic fundamentals of gun safety are: always assume every single gun that you see is loaded. Okay? If you see a gun or someone hands you a gun, a friend, anybody's trying to show you a gun, we always want to assume that that gun is loaded and it has a bullet in there ready to fire. Okay? Don't ever trust that somebody hands you a gun and they tell you it's unloaded. People do this all the time. They'll say, here, look at my new gun. No, it's unloaded. Go ahead and check it out. Never assume that that gun is unloaded. Always assume it is loaded. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And your friend or relative or whoever who is handing you that gun, if they get offended by you re-clearing and checking the gun that we're going to talk about in a second, then they need a little more education on how to be safe with weapons. Okay? If you hand me a gun, I'm never going to assume that there's not a bullet in there ready to fire, no matter who you are, right? The chief of police, the best gun shooter in the world, a friend, anybody. And that's just standard, safety stuff with guns. Does that make sense? So anytime a gun comes into your hands or into your area, always assume it's got bullets in it ready to go. All right? Every single gun that you see is a dangerous gun. It's a loaded gun. All right? That's one of the most important things, really. Secondary to that, what I like to say is never point a gun at anything that you're not ready to destroy. Never point a gun at anything or anyone that you are not prepared to shoot. Okay? That could be a target, a paper target at the range, that if you're shooting for fun or for sport. It could be a person if you unfortunately find yourself in a self-defense situation, but there's no reason at all to ever point a weapon at anybody or anything that you're not willing to make permanently go away. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay? It sounds simple, but people get relaxed and they get complacent, and before you know it, they're taking guns and doing this stuff, and bad things happen, right? I always say that there's no such thing as an accidental discharge. You guys ever heard this term, like accidentally shoot the gun? Accident? Mm-hmm. There is no accidental shoot, only a negligent shoot, okay? There's no such thing as the gun accidentally goes off. Guns do not go off by themselves. If a gun shoots a bullet and you didn't mean for it to, it's not an accident. Somebody's been negligent. Somebody has not acted safely with that weapon, right? So it's a negligent discharge, not an accidental discharge. I don't like the accidental term. Does that make sense? When it comes to range safety and safety with guns on a shooting range, which I guess is, you said y'all went to the Norcross Gun Club and Range. I've been there many times. It's a nice place. When you're on a range, you always want to keep the weapon pointed downrange, right? Or at the ground. You never take the weapon out of the booth, where you're shooting, and turn around this way with it, if the targets are that way, right? We call it downrange. Gun always stays pointed downrange, okay? Let me get a gun out, a training gun. We use these blue guns. You guys seen these before? Just plastic. It's not a real gun. It's shaped exactly like a real gun so that it fits in our holsters, so that we can use them to train and how to take guns away and do all that without the fear of having a real gun involved. So it's just a plastic, kind of a rubbery training gun. Another extremely important gun safety point: finger off of the trigger until you're ready to fire. Okay? I don't walk around, if I have my gun out for any reason, I don't walk around like this. No. Finger, we call it indexed, but the finger off of the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Does that make sense? Again, these things might sound simple to some of you that are experienced in guns, but these are the basic fundamentals that keep people safe. And I don't think it's ever heard too often, really, the fundamentals for anything, but especially with guns. So finger off the trigger until you're really ready to fire. Even if I'm on my target, I don't have my finger on the trigger just waiting. I'm acquiring my target, and then when I'm ready to fire, finger here, not until, okay? Let me see if my slides have caught up with me. So we mentioned a second ago about never trusting that a gun is unloaded or a gun is safe without checking it yourself, right? Does that make sense? So if I come over here to Mr. Jones and I say, hey, check out my new gun. Check it out, it's a gun. It's okay, it's already unloaded. What should he do? What should he do? Check it himself, right? Make the gun safe himself. He can never just assume that it's safe and he goes, oh yeah, okay, it's safe, yeah, boom. We don't want that, that's bad, okay? So how do we make a gun safe? What do? We're talking about handguns today. Handguns, not rifles or shotguns or anything else, but specifically handguns, which is what most of you guys probably shoot. Did you guys shoot handguns in the competition, or was it? 9mm. Okay, so handguns. Okay, good. So the first thing that you do to make a gun safe, does anybody know?
Have the gun on safety?
What's that?
Have the gun on safe.
Put it on safe, absolutely. Yep, now these Glocks don't have a manual safety, right? But a lot of guns do. So like a lot of guns still have manual safeties. These Glocks have them built into the trigger and all this fancy stuff. But so yeah, absolutely, you first put it on safe. What will be the next step to making a gun safe? Does anybody know?
Remove the magazine.
Yes, remove the magazine. Magazine release. Take the magazine out, right? Taking the bullets away, okay? So all the bullets are in the magazine. Push the button, take it out, sit it over here. What's the next step?
Temperature.
Where's there still a bullet, maybe?
Temperature.
Inside, right? I took the magazine that has the bullets out, like this one, took it out, but there's still a bullet here, ready to be fired, right? And some guns will fire when the magazine comes out. Some won't, but a lot will. So you only get one shot off, but one shot's enough, right? If it's an accident to hurt somebody, or excuse me, a negligent discharge, that's enough to hurt somebody, right? So I've gotten rid of the magazine, so what do I do next? I gotta get rid of that bullet that's in the chamber, right? I take the slide and I push it to the rear, pull it to the rear like this, and whatever type of gun you have has a locking mechanism. Okay, it's called a slide lock lever. You pull that slide to the rear, push this up, and that slide will open, the bullet will pop out, right? You know, you see people do it and the bullet goes flying. And then you have presumably an empty weapon, okay? But guess what? We're still not done, all right? What we want to do is not only visually inspect this weapon, but manually inspect it, okay? This is a step that a lot of people overlook, okay? Maybe you didn't get a lot of sleep the night before, you know, maybe you've had too much coffee, I don't know, whatever the problem is, maybe your head's not all in the game. Once I've taken the magazine out, locked the slide to the rear, the bullet comes out that was here, right? Now this part is locked to the rear. I can see down into the gun now, okay? Now I've visually inspected it. I see there's no bullet in the chamber, there's no magazine in the magazine well. But I take it a step further, and I got big hands, so I use my pinky. I put my pinky into the chamber and feel in there, just to be sure. You know what I mean? It's not overkill. It's covering up for, like I said, maybe you're tired, maybe your head's not in the game today, right? I visually and manually inspect it, and then I put my finger up in the magazine well, just to verify for myself that there's no magazine there, okay? Now I have a safe weapon. Right? Now, if I go to hand it to Mr. Jones, I'm gonna leave that slide locked to the rear. You guys know what I'm talking about? I'm gonna leave it to the rear so that when I hand it to him, pointing down, he takes it, he can look at it without having to work the action or do anything. He can look at it, see that it's empty, finger, now he knows he's holding a safe and empty weapon. Does that make sense? Yes. All right, so one more time. I don't mean to go over this too many times, but this is one of those important things. A lot of times when somebody has a negligent discharge, right, or the gun goes off by accident, it's because they're gonna clean it or they hand it to somebody else to look at, and that gun has not been made safe. That gun has not been properly unloaded, visually and manually inspected, and they hand it to somebody who maybe is not as familiar with guns, and it causes a problem. Okay, so first things first, if it has a mechanical safety, put safe, right? Next thing, drop the magazine, take the magazine out, set it to the side, right? Lock the slide to the rear with the slide lock lever. Once I've done that, I can see into the action of the gun. So I look, I touch, no bullet. I look and I touch in the magazine well, no magazine. And then I leave the slide lock to the rear, leave it locked. That way everybody can see in there easy, and they know that it's a safe weapon, okay? Any questions on that? Never assume when somebody has a gun that it's a safe gun. Always check it yourself. And if the guy who's got the gun gets mad about that, he needs to learn more about gun safety, all right? Don't take it personal. It's not personal. And I'll challenge you even a step further. If you hand a gun to someone else and they don't check it, you should say, why don't you check that gun again? You know, why don't you check it again? I'll give you an example. Police officers on the street all the time, maybe I arrest a drunk guy or whatever. I arrest somebody, okay? Put them in handcuffs. The first thing I do is search their pockets, right? Look for guns, right? Search, 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 search. I search them. I have a dog in my car, police dog. I can't transport prisoners. I mean, I can, but it's not a good sight with them in the backseat with the dog. But, so another officer comes to meet me, and he takes my prisoners to jail for me, okay? Now, when I hand off this prisoner to the other guy, what should he do before he puts him in the car? Check him again.
Right.
Don't take my word for it. Well, that's not safe. Is it? Don't take my word for it. Check him again. He's going in the back seat of your car. If he's got a gun hidden, you're the one who's going to get shot, not me. I'm riding to the police station with my dog. He's not going to hurt me. You know, so same principle, same point. You know, never assume. And if I hand off a prisoner to another guy, especially a junior officer, a new guy, and I see him put that guy in the back of his car without searching him a second time, I go over and I say, hey, why didn't you search him a second time? Oh, LT, you know, I figured you searched him good. You know, you're a lieutenant. You must search him good. No. Sir, take him out. Search him again, right? Redundant. Always do it twice. Same thing with the guns. Never assume that it's redundant, okay? So, I put this in here because I think it's important, okay? We always talk about gun safety at home. Where do I store my gun at home, right? Especially if you have kids. A lot of people talk about keeping guns out of reach of children. You know, that's what you always hear. And that is very important. But I'll tell you the truth. I think that don't just say children. We need to keep guns out of the hands of anybody in the household who doesn't need to have a gun, okay? That could be an older parent that you're taking care of, right? You know, people have different stages of dementia, and people, as we get older, these things happen, right? A lot of us have been through it. So don't just focus on kids, right? We think kids, no guns for kids, no gun, but it could be a lot of people. Friends who don't know how to act right when they have a couple of drinks, maybe, or, you know, like I say, older parents, or even guests that have kids. Just keep in mind that that gun needs to be secured all the time from anybody who shouldn't have access to it, not just kids, okay? So one of the big challenges that people complain about is, how do I keep my gun at home locked up and safe away from all the kids and everybody, but still be able to get to it quick if somebody breaks in my house or in my business? How do I keep my gun away from customers and kids or whatever, but if somebody comes into my business with a gun to rob me, how do I get to it quick without having to unlock all this stuff? You know what I mean? And that's a challenge. And there's some things out on the market now that are making that a lot easier. But first, let me just show you guys some of the sort of classic, you know, traditional gun storage methods, right? The good old gun safe, the big, you know, heavy safe, and you keep all your stuff in there, your valuables, your paperwork. But my question to you is, what happens when, in the middle of the night, some bad guys come? You got to go to the safe, remember the code, and you got to turn the knob, and right, you got to do the combination, and then get the gun out, right? Is that realistic?
I think just to separate the bullet and the gun, you know, either no bullet in the gun, that will be okay.
So keep the bullets and the gun in two
Separate.
different places.
Yeah.
The problem is, you don't know where the bad guy's going to come into your house at, you know? And if he's between you and the bullets, and all you have is the gun, then we have a problem. Or if all you have is the bullets, and he's on the other side of the gun, then we have a problem, okay? You know what I mean? But at least you're thinking about it, Miss Charlene. Charlene and I go way back, so I have to joke with her. So these are traditional, and there's nothing wrong with these. Safes are great, right? They're fire resistant up to ever how many hours. They keep your stuff safe. These little gun locks, this was another big thing that was being pushed for a long time, and they still are. We give them out at fairs and stuff. These are your basic gun lock. You lock the slide to the rear, like I was talking about, like that gun in the picture is locked to the rear. And you feed the lock up the magazine well and out of the middle here, lock it, okay? Is that safe? Yeah. Nobody can really get to that gun, but guess who else may not be able to get to that gun? Me. You. That little bitty key is what you gotta have to get that little bitty lock open, okay? Now, and I don't mean to get too technical here, but one of the biggest things that people don't understand is when you get involved in a violent confrontation, if you get involved in a shooting or somebody breaks into your house, one of the first things to go away is your fine motor skills. And I don't know if somebody wants to translate that, or I don't know, but you're like when you write your name with in cursive really nice and neat, you know, or type on a keyboard nice and good, that's fine motor skills, okay? Taking that little key and putting it in that little lock is a fine motor skill, right? We lose those when we get stressed out, okay? I've been in lots of fights and all kinds of junk, and I can testify that the first thing to go would be my ability to put that little key in that little lock, okay? We have to use, instead of fine motor skills, gross motor skills. Not gross like nasty, but gross motor skills meaning big movements, you know? Like we train with the stick, the baton. When I teach people to hit with that, we don't teach them to hit the hand with the baton. That's a fine motor skill, right? I teach them to aim for this. You know, even if that's a gross motor skill, right? I can hit here somewhere, you know what I mean? So the problem with things like this is under stress, those fine motor skills go away, and it's hard to open these little things, okay? And I'm not against these little locks, they're great. But what I'm talking about is when there's an emergency, right? And you need it now. That's kind of what I'm getting at, okay? If you just need long-term storage, these things are great. They still have a lot of value. This is another one, it's a trigger lock. It just goes over the trigger housing of the gun. And that's another popular one that a lot of people use. Again, you have to have a key. You have to have access to the key. And what I see a lot of people do is put a trigger lock on their gun and then put it in the drawer and leave the key right next to it. You know? Or they leave the key on their key ring and hang it in the kitchen. And then the gun.
Nobody knows which one is key.
But you can't get to it. That's my thing. If you just have a gun for storage, that's great. But if you have it for home protection or business protection, there's no time when the bad guy comes in the living room to run to the kitchen where the hook is with the keys and then run back to the bedroom where the gun is. You know what I mean? So it's a challenge, but I'm going to give you some solutions. I don't sell this stuff. I don't work for any of these people, believe me. But I've seen them and I know that some of this stuff works. So here's some other options, okay? Again, all of those mechanical sort of older devices, they have value. They serve a purpose. I'm not against those. But there's some cool new stuff out. It's not even new anymore. That will let you get quick access to your gun when you need it, okay? This is one of them. It's a little home safe. I don't know if you can see these, but these are finger thingies. You put your 4 fingers on there like that, and then you just push. You push your code, right? You push your, like, sometimes you have to push 2 buttons at once, doom, doom, or whatever. You make your own code, right? So if you have a hand, you can unlock this. You don't have to go find a key. But you do have to remember your code. But that's gross motor skills, right? Just slap my hand on it. I can do that, right? So that's one of the options. It pops open, and you know there's your weapon or whatever you store there. They've got some pretty high-speed stuff out these days too. I haven't seen this in the real world, but I know it does exist. They've got these sort of RFID proximity sensors. This one uses a bracelet. And I don't know how fashionable it is, but it's a bracelet. And as soon as that you wear this thing, right? You wear it. And as soon as you get close to the box, you touch the box with it, and it pops open. It's a radio frequency identification tag, or RFID. It runs on that technology. So as long as you got your bracelet on, touch it, and it opens. So some of the options that are out there. They've even gone crazy with this stuff, in my opinion, but they've even got rings to do the same thing. This is the storage safe, and that's the storage safe open. They have a little key card, kind of like your Kroger card or your shopping, you know, that you can use. You touch it and it opens. Bracelet, ring. A ring. You wear your gun safe ring around all the time, I guess, or at least when you're at home. But so there's lots of stuff out there. Some of the newer technology, and this stuff is out there. This stuff is available for people to buy now. I don't know how accurate it is. I've never tested it or seen one in person for that matter. But this gun has a fingerprint sensor on the grip. Okay, Has anybody ever seen one of these? Ever played with
Smart
one?
gun,
Huh?
so-called smart
Phone.
gun.
It's just like your phone. It is.
Right.
Yep. It is. So with that one, it has a fingerprint sensor, just like on your iPhone, you know? And if I put my hand on the gun, it takes my fingerprint and only I can fire that gun. It has a locking mechanism inside of it, okay? The problem, in my opinion, with these things is, you know, you're talking about a mechanical, electronic device, right? Where if it goes bad or doesn't work, then bad things happen, you know? If your iPhone doesn't work when you put your finger on it, we'll get a new one, right? We got insurance. But if this doesn't work and a bad guy grabs it or a kid grabs it and we're relying just on that to work, then we might have a problem. But it's interesting technology and it's out there and it may be one of the ways of the future.
Getting better anyway.
What's that?
That technology is getting better.
It is, you're right.
Yeah, so
It is.
in my personal opinion, that's most reliable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope it is, really. I think it's a great idea. This is another one of those little finger vaults where you put your fingers on. But this one, if you see, has a fingerprint scanner on it. This one, so when you put your finger there, it scans the index finger, and it, you know, it knows it's you, and it'll open. Or you can put the code in with your fingers. And, you know, either way, you can use it in either manner. The ultimate gun safety device. What's the most important thing, the most important piece of equipment that we can have to be safe with guns? Aside from all the technology and all of the training and all of that, the most important thing that we have to be safe with weapons is our brain. You gotta think, all right? All the technology in the world, like I said, the electronics go bad, batteries wear out, little wires break, you know, mechanical things inside can malfunction, but at the end of the day, we gotta think with this, right? And if this isn't working properly, because like I said, you're tired or whatever, that day is not the day to play with the gun, right? So that's important stuff. Let's see, I think that's, yes, questions. I gotta make that spin around like that, Charlene. All right, questions. Any questions from you guys?